right, welcome back. We are on step 6. All right, cold calling part 2. All right, so very cool, exciting episode, guys, in this series. So first off, I just want to say this, right? So in the last one, if you haven't watched it yet, make sure you go check it out. It is talking about setting up cold calling, right? So how you would get set up to start actually doing it. In this one, we're going to talk about doing it, right? And what those steps are and what that looks like. So make sure if you haven't, check that one out. But I want to start off by saying this, right? So freecoldcallingscript.com. All right, and that is a free, so what this is going to give you, right, is a free script, like lead intake of how you should be speaking to the seller over the phone, what you're going to say, what information that you need to gather from the seller, and it's going to help you lead them down the road of actually closing a deal. So I'm giving that to you 100% free, and then I'm also giving you with that, which is coming up in, I think it's the two more steps from now or so, and I'll check that, but it is a overcoming objection script, okay? So you're going to need this as well. Obviously, if you're on the phone, you're talking to the seller, they're going to be throwing you all these other objections, right? Like, I have other investors that are interested. I have, I need to talk to my significant other, my family member. I need to talk to an attorney. Like, all this stuff, I'm going to cover it. So I'm going to give you the actual cold calling script and a script for overcoming objections, and I'm going to give both of those to you for free at freecoldcallingscript.com. So go over there and make sure you get that. So let's get right into it. And what I'll do as well, guys, we're going to cut in a screen recording as well on this one of me walking you through the script and what that looks like. So I will do an actual walkthrough of that for you as well. All right. So part-time, let's just say that you're doing a full-time, hustle every day. You have your 9-to-5 job, or you're in college. I have a lot of students that are still in school, even some that are in Canada doing deals in the U.S., which is crazy, and they're killing it. So what I recommend, okay, if you don't have all the time in the world, everyone's living their life, that part-time, you should be trying to hit, all right, a minimum of 100 to 200 dials a day. Okay, that's what you should be striving for part-time. Now, if you have more time, you're full-time, I'm going to talk about that in a second as well. You should at least, guys, try to hit that 100, because here's the thing. In theory, it's a volume game, right? It's a volume game, but at the same time, like, I don't like saying that and putting that stigma on it, and I'll tell you why. Because everyone that says, oh, it's a volume game, they don't spend as much time as needed on the phone with the seller and really trying to build that rapport and uncover the problem. So what I see with newer people is, if they're not just interested right away, they're like, oh, it's a volume game, so I'll just hurry up, get off the phone with that person, move on to the next one. Well, that is not the case. Okay, so you got to understand, you're calling these people out of the blue. All right, so what is going to help you tremendously is putting yourself in the seller's position. Okay, trying to understand where they are coming from. They're getting a phone call out of the blue about buying a property that they own, whether it's their personal residence, it's a rental property, whatever it is, and you're catching them off guard. So there's no trust there, there's no credibility. They're already very skeptical. Okay, so you got to understand, being on the phone with them and bringing them to a place, okay, where they can trust you to a degree, right? Where you have some credibility. So you're going to be going through all this in that script that I'm showing you, and how to build that trust and credibility, how to really start getting that rapport going, and ultimately, getting more sellers that want to do business with you. Because again, put yourself in their position where they're coming from. That's why I don't like saying it's a volume game, because I want you to really dig in on each one of these sellers, and I don't want it to be a thing where you just burn an hour on one person that just isn't going anywhere, right? And that could happen to you at first, right? It just could. I got to be real with you, because you don't have the experience yet, right? But each one of these calls is gaining you more and more experience, more and more confidence, okay, to really go out there and start learning the business more. And this is going to be very helpful. So I suggest, if you can do it, which I know you can, right? Because anyone can make this many calls a day, at least 100. Okay, at least 100. You get off work, you get out of school, start calling. you know, getting some leads together. And remember guys, like all this is like no fluff action steps to get you results as fast as possible. I could easily say, hey, make 20 calls a day, but I know that it could take you, you know, 1,000, 2,000 calls before you get a deal. It could, you know, it might not, but it could. And you know, if I tell you to just make a little tiny amount of calls, that's not really helping you get to where you want to go fast. So that is what I recommend part-time. Now let's look at if you have time, you know, where maybe you're in school and you don't have that many classes left. You're a senior and you're about to graduate, and you know you have a good amount of time on your hands, or you're between jobs, whatever that is, or you just said, F it, I'm going full time and I'm just going to do this business. I'll show you what that looks like as well. This is what I recommend for you, which is going to be a big jump, by the way. So 400 to 600 calls a day. If you have time on your hands, you're in school, you don't have that many classes, you're not working a full-time job, you have time to do this, get on that phone, all right? And remember, in the beginning, in the last step, step one of, you know, or part two, right, or part one of step 5, we set up CallRail, and then I also showed you Mojo, right? So if you have the ability to pay for it, right, so it's not that much more a month, and once you start using a lot of CallRail anyway, it can start creeping up to that, you know, that same kind of price, that $100 a month. So if, all right, if you are going to be in this bracket right here, the full time, where you have time to make that many a day, I highly suggest you just go ahead and upgrade to Mojo. All right, I wouldn't, so CallRail would be more for this person right here getting going, and then I would still recommend for that person you monitor it close, right? And I'm not telling you to jump right into Mojo, just simply because, you know, I understand now a lot of you, you know, you're probably not going to follow what I'm telling you to do, right? Which is unfortunate, but that is what I highly suggest that you do. If you're part-time, you're working around some scheduling, 100 to 200 calls a day is what you should be striving for. You have your list, you have how you're going to be calling, right? You have your cell phone. That's really all you need. I'm giving you the scripts. We're going to go over those in a second. And then full-time, 400 to 600 calls a day. All right, if you want to get a deal, and you want to get a deal fast, right? And don't feel horrible if you can't hit it. If you're giving it everything you got, you will get better and better and better, right? So it's all about as soon as you get off the phone, you get to the next person, you wipe your mind of what happened on that last call, and just keep moving on, keep moving on, keep moving on. Don't bring what happened in the last call. If you have a nasty seller that, you know, really gets on your nerves, or, you know, comes at you really hard, stay professional. You know, don't let it get you. Don't take it personal, okay? So too many people take it personal, and that's what makes cold calling, you know, really difficult for a lot of people, because they take that stuff personal. Well, guess what? You know, a lot of these people, let's just say they have, you know, some distress, some issues going on. A lot of them do. They're in a bad place. Do not let that get to you, okay? Just move on to the next call. Wipe the slate clean. I know it's harder for some people than others, but guys, you can do this, all right? How bad do you want it? We're going to be getting into texting and stuff like that later as well, which I think is going to be, you know, it's going to be a lot more beneficial for some people than this, that are going to struggle with this. But again, I ask you the question, how bad do you want it, right? If you want it bad enough, then you're willing to pick up the phone and make a bunch of calls, right? If you don't, then you won't. But, you know, the texting side, I think that is going to resonate with, you know, quite a bit of you as well, especially newer, because it isn't as intense as like that phone call, right? So you're just texting with them, trying to get them set up, trying to get them to convert and get them on the phone so you can lock up the deal. We're going to be talking about all that as well, and I'm going to help you with that, right? But for now, we're talking about cold calling because I love getting you the experience and all the lessons that you learn through cold calling, all right? So that's really a big part of why we're doing it this way, okay? So anyway, now we are going to go check out this screen recording of me actually walking you through the cold calling script, and then we'll be back. Well, guys, so we are here looking at the cold calling script. So here's the thing, like I'm gonna walk you through this, guys. I know we talked a lot about it in the video, so I'll just get into it now. We're gonna start out with what you're gonna say, right? As you're calling these people, you obviously need to know what you're going to be talking about. And you know, here's a good intro that we use right here.
This gets a great response for us. Okay, so I highly suggest that you follow this. Right, it's going to tell you build rapport, tonality, be personable, relatable. Find things that you can relate to them with, right, and build that rapport. Use that. If they're so tonality. If they're talking fast, talk fast like them. Mimic how they are speaking to you as well. People like themselves, so we need to remember that. If they talk really slow and thoughtful, be a little bit more, slow in speaking and a little bit more methodical. So follow how they are speaking to you. Now, keep in mind you are also leading the conversation, okay? So I'm not in any way saying let them run the conversation by how they speak or whatever. No, you're still leading the conversation, but you're going to match their tone, match their energy, and use that to build rapport with them. And I didn't go into all the detail on like asking for their bedrooms, their bathrooms, and all this stuff, because guys, at the end of the day, you're going to have their address right there. So what you're going to do is pull up that property. If you have REI Automator, then obviously I suggest pulling it up in there. If not, use Zillow, something like that, just to go in there and see what's going on with the property. You'll be able to see beds and baths. You can always verify them with them, like, hey, I see here that it looks like you have 3 beds, 2 baths. Is that right? So you can get that information from them as well, and use it as a quick talking point. So you always want to let them know, right? You always want to let them know that you actually know what property that is theirs. Okay, so what I mean by that is that's going to build some credibility for you right there. All right, that's going to build some credibility, and that is going to allow you, okay, to they're basically going to be like, okay, so wow, he's not just blasting a million different people and then just whatever, and then he's got to get their property information and everything else. No, like, this person was specifically talking about my property. Okay, so they're reaching out to me directly about my property, about buying that property from me. So that it just builds a little bit more trust and credibility, so they don't feel like you're just out there blasting everybody, doing like RVMs or something like that, and then you got to get all that information from them, right? You know what I mean? So that's going to show that you were truly reaching out directly to them, which makes a big difference. Okay, so you can see some of the questions I have set up here. Why are you considering to sell? Is there anything else you would like to tell me about the property? And then take notes on anything related to their situation, their motivation, and any objections that they throw in early on. And then this is just a little spiel to tell them, like, we're a solutions company. We strive to make the selling experience as convenient and streamlined as possible for the homeowner. These are all good talking points to go through while you're on the call. And this is key right here, okay? This is key. You should always customize the offer based around solving their problem. It's never about you. It's always about them. You hear me talk about it all the time. It's always about them and how you can help. Okay, so I coined this little phrase right here, and I used it at one of my intensives a couple years ago, and I've heard actually other people say it now, which is funny. But buying the house is a byproduct of solving their problem. All right, so if you could look at wholesaling overall, right? Just like really what the business is, that's really that's what it is. All right, so you're a solutions company. You're solving problems. It's not about just buying houses. Buying the house is a byproduct of solving the problem. So you are in an industry that you need to be serving people, and that is what's going to really help your business explode. So if you're local, I suggest setting an appointment to go see the property. If you want to do this virtually, then that's fine as well. It talks about that in here. So you're going to send them an email text confirmation after the appointment has been set. That is huge. If you are local and you're going to an appointment, no one else will do that. Okay, there's not many people that I know. I've been doing this for years, and people tell us all the time, our company sellers do, hey, wow, this is huge. No one else really done this. It's more professional, right? Again, you're trying to bring professionalism to the stigma of the we buy houses companies that they're just out there trying to get houses for really low prices, or not here to help you. Remember, you are there to help, and you need to keep that frame throughout the process. So send them that, and then if you're not local, try to negotiate a contingent agreement price over the phone and lock up a contract. We use Offer Automator. If you don't have it, then you can go to flipmorehouses.com and get a 7-day free trial. Depending on what the seller tells you about repairs, we talked about this formula in one of the other steps. I don't know if I've released that step yet, but it talks about it right here. $10 a square foot for light rehab, 20 for medium, 30 for heavy. Okay, so what you're doing there is, obviously, if you're going to be virtual over the phone, you need a quick down and dirty way to give you a good estimated range on repairs, right? You don't want to have them on the phone and going through a full-blown repair sheet and everything else, right? You want to get the agreement. You can always do that later, but remember, guys, we're trying to lock up a contract. That's the goal. So you can also use Zillow if you don't have REI Automator and the Offer Automator feature in the MLS to do comps. So we have nationwide MLS and REI Automator. We even have comps in non-disclosure states as well, which is really, really cool. No one really has that. So this is just another little spiel as we're taking them down the line right here. You're making the offer, and it's based on the market and the property condition, okay? That's what it's all about. If they're not okay with the price, then you're going to ask them, what do you feel would be a fair offer? What's going on? How are you coming up with this price? And you're just reiterating here value, right? The offer will always be about the situation, and the market always makes the offer. This is key. You and the seller are on the same side. Get away from that typical negotiation stigma where it's you against the seller, okay? Because that's not what you're doing here. You guys are on the same side. You're just working against the market, okay? Use the overcoming objection script that I gave you with this script during negotiations. That's going to help you when they throw an objection your way. You can have that pulled up and say, oh, well, Mr. Seller, yada, yada, yada. So box the objection. Mr. Seller, is it me, the contract, the offer, what is holding you back? Figure out what that is. And then, just kind of hammer them down right here. Look, I'm a willing and able buyer ready to do a deal today. Unfortunately, we aren't able to buy every house. So I'm here now to work together and find the best solution that makes us both happy so we can move forward. What are your thoughts, right? And then you can use the other script to overcome whatever that objection is and hammer them down and get a contract signed. So if they're okay with it, then you're going to use the repairs, obviously, justifying that to get the best price that you can, but email them the agreement while still on the phone, all right? It's got to be contingent. It's got to be contingent upon viewing the property in the condition. All right, so review the contract with them and stay on the line until signed. Always have one in the background pulled up so you can fill it out quickly and send it. I gave you guys copies of the contract. And this, just an FYI, I talked about this in other steps as well. We use DocuSign to send agreements for electronic signature. And then here I just listed some motivation indicators that you could be listening out for. Right, so these are all things that you could listen out for, and obviously there's more, but these are the most common ones that you're going to hear. But yeah, that's a good walkthrough of the script, guys. Remember, I'm giving this to you for free. I want to see you guys use this, have success with it. Don't just download this stuff and let it sit there. Go out there, use it to start doing deals. All right, so I love you guys. We're going to go back to the video.
All right, guys, we're back. So I hope you enjoyed that. I know it's going to be very, very helpful for you. So on the next step, we're going to actually start talking about overcoming objections, right? Because you're going to be calling a lot. You are going to be definitely running into a lot of objections. So I'm going to run through that with you and, really help you. I'm leading you down the path of marketing, generating leads, how to talk to the seller, right? How to lock up the deal. We're going to cover all that stuff. So make sure, if you haven't yet, do me a favor and like this video. Make sure you subscribe, guys. It helps me a lot. And drop me a comment like what you need help with in this series right now. What are you struggling with? How can I help you? That is what I am here for. Guys, don't get overwhelmed by this, right? This is what I want you to do, okay? But do as much as you can. All right, that's really what I'm trying to get across from you. These are guidelines for you, okay? These are guidelines of what you should be striving to hit. If you're in this one, you're definitely going to want to use Mojo. You're not going to want to use a single line dialer. Do the 3-line. It's a little bit more. I think it's like $149 a month. But it will help you get through those calls so much faster. And of course, there's some CRM capabilities in there as well to help you manage the leads, especially when you're starting out. That can be very helpful because you don't have all these CRMs and all this fancy stuff yet. And I'm not trying to, get you even focused on that stuff yet. So I want you to keep that in mind. That is why I'm not getting deep into that. It's all about action that is going to lead to making money, right? Revenue generating activities. So I love you guys. Remember, it's a lifestyle. Doing whatever it takes to do whatever you want. Peace.